In February, I made some promises about what I'm gonna read this year, everything I'm gonna crush this year. Have I been sticking to my promises? Have I? You're about to find out. Ladies and gentlemen, miscreants, mollifiers. What are you doing? I don't know. This is what a mollifier does, and I don't know what it is, but it looks creepy. I am very careful with these mollifiers. Yo, I'm watching. Okay, my name is L. I am the anonymous librarian. I am the anonymous librarian. You can call me L. And welcome to the show. To another kind of catch up, mid-year look in what is going on. In the beginning of the year, bunch across genres. In the beginning of the year, a bunch across genres. Is that the word? Across a bunch of genres. Across a bunch of genres. I made some promises. These are books that I must read in the year of 2026. I know the meaning, whatever. Do we still use 80? I don't even know if we still use 80. It's not important. Now, how have I been doing? And let's start with the nice stuff first. I am treating you. Instead of leaving it for last, I'll do it first this time. We are gonna start with their fantasy and sci-fi must-reads for the year of 2026. I'm gonna start by showing you first what I have read, then what I still have to read, then we can analyze and what is it worth it. Yeah, okay. So yeah, these are the ones I have read, and I kind of put them in order, but not necessarily completely in order, but a little bit in order. I don't need to explain myself to you. Let's make that clear. I don't need to explain myself to you. Okay. First we have on the list of the ones I've already read was Dungeon Crawler Call by Matt Denneman. And what a bunch of fun this was with Princess Donut. I enjoyed it. So this one I picked up basically right after I promised must reads, and then I picked it up. I'm so excited. I'm finally into the Dungeon Crawler world, and I have no regrets that I put it on my must reads. So much fun. Ooh, I put them on the floor. It's too many books here. I can't put them back on the table. I had one South African fantasy book on my must reads, and that was Legacies of Obsidian by Noreen Dorman and Catriona Ross. It's not the thickest boy, but it's also not the thinnest boy. I was a bit nervous, put this on, really excited. Also, look at the beautiful cover art by Daniel Igu. And yes, every time I have an art by Daniel Igu, I will show it because his stuff is too good. Even if I've shown it 10 times before, it is just the best. I mean, his art is so good, they didn't even put the author's names on it. They didn't want the author's name spoiling. Beautiful. They didn't put the stuff in the back. You have to read the flap in here. Because the art's just too good to put anything on it, right? Yeah. Even like the name is kind of seafood. To not take away too much from the art. You know, I didn't know what to expect. But I thought I knew what to expect, and I didn't know what to expect. And it was a strange, interesting journey. Go look at my review for this one. So happy, but I'm so happy that it's very unique and interesting way they did this. And I am glad that was on my must reads. And that might be coming around later on. Next, I did read Dune Messiah was on my list, and I finished it. I did read Dune, but it was before I even made the must read list, so I couldn't put it on there. Is what it is. Is what it is. But I said, the reason this was also on my list specifically was because I know the movie Dune Part 3 is coming out, and I said, no, I want to read at least Messiah before I see that. I love Dune so much, and this did not disappoint. Whoa. And it's so different. It's so different than But it's such an interesting, fascinating story that Frank Herbert told you and played with. I love it, man. Calm down. Now we going to talk about two series first, which I'm kind of in the middle of. One of my goals was to read the whole of A Song of Ice and Fire and some of its companion books as well this year. I've read A Game of Thrones. I've read A Clash of Kings. I've read A Storm of Swords. I am currently in the middle. Am I in the middle? I'm a little bit over the middle already of A Feast for Crows. Enjoying it. Big boys, né? They're big boys. But I wanted to do them in 1 year because it's not that long a series. So I should be finishing on this month. And then is it now? Let me not lie to you. Yeah, in September, I will be picking up A Dance with Dragons, even bigger. Yo, look at that chunky boy. And then I will read A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, all 3 novellas, which should go really fast. There's also a lot of illustrations. And stop raging at the fact that I have the the show tie-in covers. Stop raging at it. It's fine. It's fine. Nobody will die because I have it. Okay. This was the one when I was looking to buy it. They already had this cover. What you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I guess there's a lot I could do, but never mind. Never mind. This one I will do November. A quick breezy one should be fast. And then in December I will do Fire and Blood, which I also think, although it is chunky, it doesn't look that crazy written. I think I should be able to go. There's also a bunch of illustrations. Damn cool illustrations in here. Yeah. I think, yeah, put it in for December. I will do. But that was not my only series that I'm in the middle of. The other one is Solo Leveling. I've read volume 1 to 4. This is volume 5. And this is where things really get excited, because now I'm going to get very much into the stuff I didn't see on the show. So still 5, 6, 7, and 8. I still have to read. I am reasonably positive that I will finish this, because if you grab one of these, and even while I'm reading other stuff, I still finish it. If I just read this on its own, I'd finish it in 2 days. While I'm reading other stuff as well, it takes me like 5 to 6 days. They go pretty fast. So I always try and slot them in. If I finish with one of the Game of Thrones books early, slot one of them in there the month. And then in the off months, I try and do like 1 or 2 of them with some other stuff if I can. Yeah, so at least everything looks in control with the sci-fi and fantasy so far. There's only one more book that is on my have to read list that I haven't gotten to yet. It's on the standalone. It starts a series, but I only put the first book on my have to reads, and that is the Black Company. So this is the Chronicles of the Black Company. It looks like a thick book, but this is the Chronicles of the Black Company, which is the first 3 books in the Black Company. The first book in the Black Company is The Black Company, and that is the one that I have said I will read this year. So it's not this whole thick 700 pager. It is actually just like 200 and something pages. I've read. So reasonably small. I should be reading this in August, and then I have no more. And then I'll see. If I really like that one, maybe I'll try and get in one of the second and the third book in, because they're not the biggest ones. But we'll see. But I have other stuff I also want to read, so we'll see. But that is it for the sci-fi and fantasy. So let's move on to the mundane. Stop. Let me stop right here. And where I would usually have a mundane fictions category, I'm going to split it into the mundane fiction and the mundane classics. Sounds mean, it's not. It's just what it is. That's how I'm calling it. So let's start out with the mundane fictions. What have I already read amongst them? I discovered this author last year. Never heard of him before. Just read a short story collection, and I said I loved it so much I had to start reading. Now this was his debut novel, Stuart Clutter, Turning Wheels. So I put that on, and then I read it, and I was not disappointed. This is one of those, how the hell is this a debut novel? He must have been writing a lot of stuff just to get a better writer. Or maybe he's just one of those guys that are just unbelievable. Stuart Clutter, I've only read 2 of him, and he's quickly making a fight to become my favorite. Unbelievable. I had to put a must read from my favorite author, right? And that was Steven Erikson's This River Awakens, a very unknown book by him. This was actually his first, it was originally published under the name Stephen London, before he even went by Steven Erikson and Melasine books got published. It's a brilliant book, and it should not be, it's forgotten and it shouldn't be forgotten. This thing should be pushed. Everybody should read this. Now, I had 5 books on this in this group, but those are the only 2 I've finished reading so far, and we are already deep into July. But I am at least busy with the third one in from the 5, and that is Stephen King's Pet Cemetery. And yeah, I've not had sleepless nights yet, but there's some creepy stuff in here. Yeah, the characters run the inner monologue of the main character at top points. I'm having so much fun. I'm like glad that this is the Stephen King I made my must read. I've heard so many good things about it, and I'm not that for it. I'm like almost 100 pages. I'm almost a quarter in. Then there's 2 more that I have to get into, so that I am an honest person. I have to read this because that was my promise. And if I fail on my promise, I have to read an L. Ron Hubbard book next year, which I don't want. Pachinko by Mundane. I believe this one came out last year, and it was just the hit. It was a super, like so many just blurbs everywhere. Everybody loves it. Everybody says it's the greatest thing ever. I don't know. I know it's like a family drama set in Korea and Japan about a Korean family. Oh, it's actually a bit older, right? It's like 2017. So it feels to me like last year. It probably was already famous, but last year it blew up again. It's like a lot. You heard a lot about this book. So I really wanted to get into it, read it, and something just about it. Just look, even I swear, even just the cover already got me into it. And then I started reading. I don't know. Sometimes the cover just talks to you. And I started reading what it's about and what people said about it. I'm like, yo, I really want to read this. Is it going to live up to it? I hope so. But I'm excited. I should be getting to this. I think there's a chance that I get to this in August. Then I have one big ass book left in this group. Claire Penham's The Sun in Splendor. This is a War of the Roses story. Look at that thing. And it's small writing as well. So it's like 900 and something pages. I know that George R. R. Martin took a lot of inspiration from the War of the Roses for the Song of Ice and Fire, and I thought like I at least want to finish like A Dance of Dragons before. I was thinking about reading this earlier in the year. So no, I at least want to finish A Dance of Dragons before I get into this one. This is really, I'm gonna need a month for that. I'm gonna need a whole month. Okay, then let's move on to the Mundane classics. There's 7 here. How many did I read? Okay, let's start with the first one I read. Oh, this was not the first one I read, but the one I read already. The Iliad by Homer. I did finish the Iliad. It took me a while. I was also reading other thick stuff at the same time. And I mean, it's strangely enough, because it's a poem, boom, it kind of, and this is the Alexander Pope version, it kind of goes fast and slow and feel a little, it gets, because it's poetry, it kind of gets monotonous. Not boring, but monotonous, if you understand the difference between. And then you kind of, you can go fast through what you're reading, but it feels like you can't read that much for just all the names are just blurring in your mind and everything, because there's so much being thrown at you in the Iliad. But I did enjoy it. Oh man, craziness. I did read Cannery Row by John Steinbeck, also on my list. Both Iliad and Cannery Row was because of mentions Steven Erikson did about this, like how you can use them to help you be a better writer or influence something in the scope with the Iliad. And this was like how beautifully describes things in this, the magical realism of this. Man, did I love this. Oh, did this thing just get me in the feels. And I wanted to be at that place, and you could feel those people, and you wanted to see them, and you wanted to meet them, talk to them. And then, but not get too close to them either. At the same time. I read Heart of Darkness. That was also on my must reads by Joseph Conrad. Also a short one. So can I roll another? So I'm like, yeah, I read a lot of the classics I was supposed to read. Yeah, but it was short, was it might change a little bit now. Seeing what's going. Heart of darkness, it is a heart of darkness, your heart is dark. I really enjoyed it. This is a wild story. And this made me a fan of Conrad as well. Just like Henry Rowe made me now, I want to read, just keep reading John Steinbeck. I want to keep reading Joseph Conrad. And I know none of his other stuff is as popular as this as far as I know, maybe Nostromo, I don't know. But I do have 2 more of his things now that I really want to get my hands on to. Let's go with South African classic, an Afrikaans classic. So I guess this is the only Afrikaans book on the whole list. Kringe in a Bos by Daleen Matthee. It is translated in English as well. Circles in a Forest by Daleen Matthee. This was surprised. I read it mostly in matric when I was, which is senior year, for the people who don't know what matric is, and school, because it was our assignment book then. But I didn't finish all of it, and I was reading my fancy books. So why would I want to read what the school wants me to read now? So I finally went and read the whole thing this year. Loved it. So I thought, no, I have to. And it kept the stuff I remember reading, and this kept sticking in my mind. Like, I think I actually would enjoy this. Let me go read it. And I did. And so that's the classics I've already read. Now onto the classics I still had on my list. The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. Now, I've read most of this before. My brother, while I was still in school, and my brother was in university, and the university had this in the library. My brother knew I kind of liked the story and I wanted to read about it. So he brought it from the library for me. But then I have to send it back before I could finish it. I remember this is not an easy read, because it's kind of like partly just Victor Hugo describing Paris. It feels like partly non-fiction, just like him describing what Paris is like and everything. And then there's the story as well. Because the Hunchback of Notre Dame is not even its original name. I believe the real name is like Notre Dame in Paris, or Notre Dame of Paris. It's like the original French name for it. Yeah. But I still remember like really enjoying, and how vivid and brutal it was. Holy crap, I didn't expect this story to be so brutal. But then back in the day, not surprising. So I finally wanted to go back, finish it properly, see everything. I did read an abridged version as well, but there was stuff that I really enjoyed in this that was not in the abridged version. So what else did I leave out? This next one, this is really, I'm feeling shameful now. I'm feeling shameful. Because that I've only read one book from this author is a shame. And that I've not read this one, which is probably his most famous book, it's also a shame. 1984 by George Orwell. Animal Farm is the one I've read. Animal Farm is one of my favorite books of all time. And it's even when I didn't really enjoy reading it because it was also a school assigned book, it stuck with me and I've kept it, and I really like that book. I love that book and what he was able. And it's one of the few books where allegory really works. So this one's also allegory, right? And I can't wait to read it and finally see it and get into more Orwell, because if Animal Farm is that good, I want to see what it's going. And I'm assuming it's very different, because the ideas are very different, or not necessarily the ideas are very different, but the conceits in what she tells the stories seem very different. And then this author, I just had to put in our book on, because I'm going to say, even though his book technically didn't win my Book of the Year last year, it came in second. It really was. It should have won my Book of the Year. And I had to put in our book of him. I'm talking about Alexander Dumas, and the one I'm taking is The Three Musketeers. So yeah, last year I read The Count of Monte Cristo, and this is one of my favorite books of all time now. Very high. If I ever make a top 10 list, that's going to be very high on it. So I thought, no, I have to read more of Dumas. Even if the other stuff's only half as good, and will still be good. And of course, had to pick up The Three Musketeers. Seems like the logical. Hunchback, I'll definitely read it in August. This can be in September. Then I should be able to do this November or December. Remember, they kind of run with the other Mundane fiction, so it is how it is. So now let's get to the non-fiction. Now let's get to our vegetables. At least we left the vegetables for almost last, but there will be a dessert afterwards. So you need to stay for the dessert, or just skip the time code if you want to. If you're one of those, then just do that. What I've read so far of my must-reads, Under Smuts's Rule by Bongani. Let me put it right, because I've said his name so wrong. I've called him Bongi so many times, which annoys me. Bongani Mkuluwanga. Oh, that was such a stunning version of Smith and his rule in South Africa, and how it specifically influenced black South Africans. Because that's kind of a story that's never properly been told in all of the other Smith's biographies. Really enjoy this. Well written. Just Mkuluwanga, I've went to buy his other book, which has nothing to do, which is something I'm interested in, but it's based on the ANC start, so it's very different way Smith is good. I've never known a lot about it, but his writing is so good. Anything he writes, I don't care what the subject matter is. Anything this guy writes, I'm gonna read it. It was that good. It's just, he's a fantastic writer. I finally finished the follow-up to Commando by Denise Rates by Tracking On by Denise Rates. So now it's just On Spun, which I didn't put on my list, but I think I will get to that one eventually and read it. The stuff in Southwest Africa, World War I is interesting. The stuff in East Africa is interesting. But it's really when you get to to the trenches, to the Western Front, that this thing soars. And just the vivid descriptions and stuff, but also the day-to-day soldier life and the quirks and oddities that go along with that in such a war. Oh, this one I put on my must reads and I was salivating to get to it the whole year. Cinema Speculation on by Quentin Tarantino. What fun. What a good call to put this on my must reads. Loved it. Interesting. Fascinating. It kind of works as both film analysis and a bit of a biography of his growing up and his early cinema experiences. Man, if you just want to have a good time, read this. You'll read some crazy stuff and it's fun. Crazy anecdotes, crazy stories, and these interesting opinions and his strange intellectual, brilliant takes on these movies. And some of Hollywood's more interesting characters and his peers. Hollywood on the Veld was my next one because, hey, I like cinema. Was basically telling the story of like a big industry of film that I.W. Schaefer built in South Africa. I love Ted Botha's other book, the Daisy the Melker book, last year so much I felt I had to put another one of it. And this is my favorite actually. I enjoy this even more than that one. And I hope Ted Botha writes even more crazy Joburg history stuff. He writes them like a compulsive thriller. It almost feels like you're reading, even though they're non-fiction, like you're just reading like a really prestige, exciting HBO drama. The Life of St. Anthony was another one. This was also, I've read most of it, basically all of it, once for a project I had to do when I was in university centuries ago. And although there is the stuff I remember enjoying and really liking, then there's other stuff like, there's a lot of fun. But it's for what it is, it's a lot of fun. You have to remember this is letters. It's not really a book. It was letters written from St. Athanasius to explain to people who St. Anthony was, who wanted to know more about him also. And I mean, this is it's 44 pages. That's everything I've finished already, but hey, this one, I'm in the midst of, but I'm also not in the midst of. There's 11 pages left. I'm going to read it today. I will finish the Jane Austen biography today. And damn, if this is not a fun read. The Elizabeth Jenkins who wrote it in the 1930s, she decided to write it in the style of Jane Austen, the biography, which is wonderful. And her analysis, just like I loved Quentin's analysis with the cinema, I loved her analysis of Jane Austen's work and the characters stuff. It soared. What a joy to read. I'm so happy I put it on my must reads. There's only one more book on my must reads for the non-fiction that I have not gotten to yet. And that is Stanley Kubrick Directs by Alexander Walker. This is an older edition. I know this. I will go look for a newer edition that has all the Stanley Kubrick movies in it. This one goes all the way to A Clockwork Orange. So this is one of all the versions. It's not heavy big. I am curious. I've heard like good things about it, but I've also mixed things about it. It is a very interesting time. It's more based on the movies than about. But what I like about this is apparently Kubrick collaborated with Alexander Walker. He gave him content and stuff he wanted to know for it. So yeah, this is more curiosity. Am I going to enjoy this much more? I hope so. This was one of mine with the artist. I had a bunch of I want to know more about the artist type of stories. Like, I feel like it's a compendium to cinema speculation and Jane Austen biography. And I'm excited. And Kubrick is he's the most interesting director I've heard. He might be my favorite director for that, but he's certainly the most interesting of the directors that I know. Okay, so that was the 36 books that I had on my must reads. And of the 36 books, I have seven. I have 7 if you take the one from there. So if you take 6 Mundane books, Mundane fiction books I still need to read. Stanley Kubrick Directs makes it 7 from a non-fiction one, so there's only one non-fiction. And then there is the 8 from the fantasy. That's the 4 solo leveling ones. I'm not counting a Feast of Crows because I feel like I'm not doing good. I'm counting a Black Company. I'm counting a Dance of Dragons, a Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and Fire and Blood. So that's 15. I'm doing pretty good. I am doing pretty good. I think I will get through all of it. I want to do some books that I am looking forward to, and I'm pretty sure I'm still going to read this year and add them on. Like the stuff that got me excited to read. And I'm still. So I'm not actually adding this to the must read. It's not like this is not going to count, but it's just like I'm pretty sure I'm going to read this, and I'm really excited for these. That was not spit. You didn't see me spit. Stop lying. It happens when I'm really excited. Okay, calm down. And the first one, no surprise thing from because I've been enjoying the series so far, I feel like I have to continue and see where this goes, especially after that ending in the second book. I'm going to Children of Dune by Frank Herbert. Frank Herbert, I love his writing. His writing is so unique and interesting, fascinating. And I want to see how it keeps up. I think he's definitely going to be he's already one of my favorite writers just by the 2 books I've read. The way he uses and constructs a world and sentences and uses certain words to make this world feel unique but still understandable to us. And just the crazy high concepts. And like the coding trick he did in Dune Messiah, I feel personally, and it was great in Dune as well, but the ones in Dune Messiah is the best I've read, better than the ones I read in Game of Thrones. Blew my mind. So I'm really excited to get to Children of Dune, continuing that series. Honestly, if I can get God Emperor of Dune also in this year, I will try and put God Emperor of Dune also in this year, but I can't promise that one. This one I'm fairly certain I will get it. And I've already gone and checked it now. I want to read all of it. I got Heretics of Dune and Chapter House, Dune Chapter House as well. Now another series that I started and I liked so much, and the second book was out because it came out on the same day. I want to go. Legacies of Obsidian was so much fun. So now I want the Dawn of the Empress, the second book in the Winter Mage series, the South African fantasy series, and I'm just falling in love with. I wanted to get at least 12 South African fiction books in, and I'm standing at 6 at this point, so I still have a lot to do. So yeah, there's definitely a slot for this one. Again, by Daniel Higu. Look how beautiful this cover is. His covers are so beautiful, they can't even put the name of the office on them. They have to put it on the inside because you don't want anything distracting from the sheer beauty of it. I am excited. It takes place in the same world and it continues the Winter Mage, but it goes to a different kingdom. And there's some characters that you've met in the first book, but it looks like you're mostly dealing with new characters in a new setting and everything. A little bit of Malazan trick you're doing there. You know how I feel about Malazan. I'm really excited. After what Legacies of Obsidian was, can't wait to continue with it. And it's a nice shout out. Next, this one will fall under the Mundane Fiction and also South African book, Scatterlings, a novel. Now this is South African name, but this is even for me this is hard. Zesuketswe Manenzwe. I'm thinking I'm butchering that name. But this is a South African book that has like gotten some really good reviews overseas as well, like real popularity. And I thought, this sounds like some. And the reason I also got to it, they signed the company. My favorite South African indie publisher is Mirari Press, and they're the ones doing speculative. They're the ones behind Dawn of the Empress and Legacies of Obsidian. And I've been really enjoying this stuff. So I saw she signed for her next, and I believe it's still coming out later this year, speculative fiction book, or early next year. I'm not sure. Or maybe late next year. I know she's going to bring out one with Mirari Press. I was like, okay, no. If that, then I want to check out what she has written already. And then I saw this book, Scatterlings, which is very acclaimed. I'm like, I'm going to read that. I'm really excited for this. And if you understand what Scatterlings means, it's like it refers to especially dysphoria, as African dysphoria, like South African people, but other Africans also being scattered all over the world. Like they went to places different, just to. Sometimes it's because of the fact that their countries was colonized and you couldn't do anything, and they're looking for a better place. So I am curious about this tale and how it's been received, and to see it, and excited to discover a new great South African author. And I think this is on the South African authors I haven't read. She is for me the one that I'm thinking, oh, I think this is gonna be the one. This is gonna be the one. The last one, also South African, and this is now old school guy that's there, because I've been loving his work so much. 2 books in, I want to get a free book. Rags of Glory by Stuart Kloete. So if Turning Wheels was about the Groot Rek, this one deals, Rags of Glory deals, he kind of gets all of South African history in that time, specifically the European history, focuses a lot on, but he does branch out from that. This one deals around the Boer War, and this is epic saga of the Boer War. Now this book doesn't look that thick, right? No, that's not thick. You want to know how many pages this is? This little book. Just guess. I'm waiting for you. How much did you guess? No, you were wrong. It is 663 pages. Does that look like 663 pages? I mean, this is 400 and something. This book is 400 and something. It's the thinnest freaking paper I've ever seen anything printed on. But it looks steady enough. So, I mean, that's fine. But it's the thinnest paper I've ever seen in a book. But yeah, I know this is also one of his more acclaimed books by Stuart Kloete. So I'm really excited to see. If Tracking On was something, this one he wrote in the 60s, where Tracking On was in the 30s. So he was a much more accomplished author, much more seasoned author. I can't wait. Man, Stuart Kloete I like him saying, he's just become one of my favorites. So that's it. I think if I'm looking at this, I am crushing it. It doesn't look like. It looks like I made a big promise. 36 books were way too many to promise for my reads, considering I want to read other stuff in between. But it has also made me honest. It has kept me on this road. And I think that's a good thing. Because so far, really, none of them were a letdown. And I've read books that let me down this year, but none of them were one of the ones that I put on my must read. So there was something worth it. So instead of getting distracted by the new shiny things, and I have so many new shiny things. Look at the new shiny things here. I have another room filled with my speculative fiction. Nice and shiny things. And you're like, oh, I want to get to this so bad. But no, I promised myself this. But in the same vein, as much as I'm glad I did this, next year I'm not good. I'm going to put in way less on my must reads to let me be able to wander around a bit more and just take flight of my fancy next year. And see how then that compares to having this very solid must read compared to that just flight of fancy, grab, go where you want to go. What were your must reads for this year? What did you believe you're going to read this year and you're still planning to get to? Let me know. And is there any of these, are we correlating anything? Is there anything that I'm reading this, that said I had to read this year, that you're also reading this year? Anything that I've talked about so far that you're like, maybe I should do it. Everything I've read here, I have a review of it. If not yet, it will come out. There will be a review of this, of all of these that I've talked about today somewhere. If you look on my page, you can find it. So go check them out to see what I thought about it. They were awesome. It was amazing. It was the good, the great, and the amazing. Okay. I don't have anything else to say. I am the Anonymous Librarian. You can call me Al. You don't have to call me at all. But leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. You know what? Share this with the whole world. Why not? Look at me. I am an inspiration. And people say, no, there's those people that go to war-torn areas and help people and the charity and they save and the Doctors Without Borders. No, great. That's awesome. I love what they're doing, but they still not as inspirational as me. Me sticking to my must reach and crushing it. This is the guy. So share with everybody so that every Cuddy can see my glory and join it and become great readers like me. Now I know you're going to argue with this. I'm already angry because you want to argue with this and saying, no, you're not that special. I am that special. So quiet, bye. You can leave now, bye.